Great morning, everyone, and welcome to Piper Academy. So, where you're gonna have the news, the charts, and everything you need to have for a great week. So, today we also have a very special guest. So, let's welcome without further ado. And what is it? How is it going? Trade flight, how has it been? Long time no see.
What's going on? Yeah, it has been a little bit, huh? Super excited to be here. I think we got some awesome things to talk about today. And Piper, I know you're watching. What's up, man? Hope you're having fun on vacation. And yeah, let's go ahead and get this party started, man.
Absolutely. So right now you can see that we have Ada as in the thumbnail having a really massive pump on their volume. So we're going to be taking a look at Ada. But first of all, I would love to get started with a couple of news. So should we get it going? Trade flight?
Yeah, man. First thing we're gonna
Absolutely.
take a look at is the economic calendar. I know that's a big thing Piper likes to do. So, for December 8th, I don't know if you can pull my screen up. Yeah, there it is. Cool. So for December 8th, you can see we got the unemployment rates. That's going to be coming out. Now, the US is a sick place. The Fed is actually looking for the unemployment rates to go up to know that they're doing a good job, which is contradictory to what you would think. For December 12th, you got core inflation. That's going to be a big day. So expect some volatility there. And then, of course, you'll have the interest rate decision is going to be on the 13th, just following those inflation numbers. So, expect a little bit of volatility, I think, in that time frame. I don't really anticipate any interest rate hikes there on the 13th. So it should mostly be status quo. But depending on the numbers that come out on the 8th and the 12th could have an impact. And that is what I got for that. So I know you want to start off with some news. I'm going to go ahead and pass it to you. We'll get over to some of the news for the day.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we'll talk about that.
Excellent. So, as the thumbnail says, Cardano ADA at 1 billion in 24 hours and 100% volume surge. So, we should be seeing a couple of movements happening. Cardano, let's see what else do we have in here. So, Cardano native crypto ADA has experienced a remarkable surge, adding an impressive 1 billion to its market capitalization within mere 24 hours. The token market cap now stands at an impressive 15.42 billion, securing its place as the eighth largest cryptocurrency, globally per coin market cap ranking. So, what do you think that might be happening or could be going on the Cardano side trade flies?
Yeah, man. So Cardano is just an interesting project altogether, right? Because when I was looking at Cardano mostly a couple years ago, that was the hype. Like Cardano, you remember, was way up. I think they were maybe number three, four at the time in terms of market cap. And you've kind of slowly seen them pull back over time. And I think a lot of that might be marketing, but the ecosystem itself has just continued to grow. There's more and more projects, there's more and more tokens. There's still money flowing into Cardano. And if you look at some people, one of their big things is total value locked. That's still extremely high. And so I still believe in Cardano. It's a weird thing, but I haven't given up on it. Yes, I hold a little bit of Cardano. And, I think ultimately it's one of the better projects out there. And what I always compared Cardano to was Apple. And now I know it's probably not a direct comparison, but I think they're always slower to get things out there. They're slower to implement, you know, some of the different aspects of the token itself or the ecosystem, really. And it's like I think they just wait to do it right. But I don't. We're in crypto. We're all kind of like spazzy and like we want now. It's our generation. But Cardano, I think it's a safe bet. So I think it's going to continue to grow. It's always delayed though too. Look back like a couple years, we had that big bull market with Bitcoin. Bitcoin shot up, Ethereum shot up, and then it's like here comes Cardano, and it like surpassed everything. So yeah, man, that's kind of my take on it. What do you got?
Absolutely. So I also want to take the time to shout out Mr. J, Gia, as Crocs Crypto. What's up, buddy? And thank you so much for helping me out there with the news and the thumbnail. Justin, also Eric Wallen, Dean, what's up? And welcome, guys. So I didn't have the time to welcome you. So also, I want to go ahead and bring up something that has been already playing out. Remember where we had BlackRock pushing on, the stable coins might not be doing any good for Bitcoin, and they kind of like started waking up and starting to do a couple of stuff. Well, then also related to that, there is Bitcoin investment strategy pays off with over 1 billion in unrealized gains. So basically, we start seeing everything going to the billions right now, right? Increasing through billions. That is something that I really like to see. A leading stablecoin issuer, Tether, has seen its Bitcoin investment strategy start to pay off as the company's BTC holdings are now valued at 2.4 billion after rising more than 85% from the company's average purchase price, leading to unrealized gains exceeding 1 billion. According to popular research, Amber CN, since May 2023, Tether has acquired 4,083 Bitcoin to bring its total stash to 57,576 BTC. So we also start seeing those companies to start hodling or increasing their bags. And this is also important because when everything is going bearish, I believe that everyone is just scared. And I mean, who could blame us for being scared after what happened with Luna and numerous other projects? But I believe so far Tether, despite it's not one of my favorite stable coins, and I do still use it, it is one of the coins that has proven so far to be stable over time. And now they see their cards playing out, because I mean, we see that DCA strategy kind of like it never fails. What do you have in mind there, Trade Flight?
Yeah, man. So I talked about that a little bit last time, that people that started DCAing at the top, if you did like a weekly DCA of like $100 and you start at the top, you're like net profitable right now. So DCA, yeah, it is a tried and true method. And that's what I've used personally with my own like stocks and stuff like that. All the traditional stuff that I have, like Apple and things of that nature. And I just DCA, and I always have, and it's worked out well for me. So I am totally not against DCA. The reason I DCA less in crypto is because of volatility and because of exchanges, right? I have some exposure, minimal exposure to exchanges, so I'm careful with that. And with Coinbase especially, I try to tell people all the time, if you're on Coinbase and you keep your money in USD, that money is financially backed by whatever bank or institution it's at. So that's one of the things that I have now developed as a strategy, like it's to keep myself safe, because I've seen things dump, I've seen exchanges go down, and so that's my take there. Am I scared of USDT? No. Am I scared of USDC? No. And they say that one might be safer. But what do you think about that? Like between USDT and USDC, what's your preference there? Because I hear better things about USDC.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I also prefer much better USDC, and also when you start looking to the background of USDT, things start getting shady, right? And more when we're talking about big financial things happening on that space. That's what I was really kind of like set off to start going full in USDT, which I still not. And I do see your approach, although I prefer USDC, because on also a couple of other strategies that I have, which are passive income, I usually get a better return USDC than I have on US dollars. So I rather have it right there in case I need to transform it into or exchange it into Bitcoin or any other crypto. It's usually a much faster way to do it. But that is my take. Also, I want to address something that I really liked in here. That was Eric Wallen, slow and old. Like Ada is like Nokia. But yeah, I mean, who can blame also Nokia for being like so So like I don't know, it's kind of like a break, right? But I will totally understand what Eric you're going on that. And what do you think of that trade flight? I mean, I just thought it was a very funny comment and wanted to
Yeah.
bring it up to.
Yeah, he could be right. I mean, I was just trying to find a comparison on the fly here, but they're slower to implement, some of the technologies that they have. And hopefully it pays off for them in the end. Like I said, I know a lot of people are invested in ADA. A lot of people believe in ADA. So, I want to see most of these projects succeed, right? We want to see crypto succeed, and that's he might be
Yes,
right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing set on stone, right? I mean, we could be seeing something flashing out like from the night to the day, and like I mean, changing everything happening right there. So, I mean, I do hold ADA, just so you also know. I do believe that ADA has already, I mean, still have a little path to go. But also, it's truth, like you mentioned, it's been a little bit slow to push some stuff. But when Ada does it or Cardano does it, it kind of like it does it in the correct way. I don't know. Let me wrap it up with one other news here before I throw it back to you. Because now Ethereum also, look at that, dormant Ethereum will move 39K Ethereum to exchange after 700% unrealized gains. So I think we've been seeing, and we're gonna keep seeing this kind of movements where we're gonna be seeing either also Bitcoin based on the dominance and the other important coins being purchased, or realized gains and then move them out of exchanges. So we're getting close to that Bitcoin halving, and also the ETF. Remember that there is also an Ethereum ETF proposal there. And I mean, I think things are starting to get shaky a little bit. So I believe that we're going to be having that sweet movement volatility that might be happening. A dormant Ethereum will has recently resurfaced, right? Seemingly to realize gains of nearly 700 over 47,260 Ethereum that they have received from June to August 2017, and an average estimate price of 240 per token. So I think that is amazing. Hopefully we could be making the head news there in the upcoming movements. Thread flight, what do you think about Ethereum, maybe other coins jumping into being withdrawn from the exchanges? Do you see it happening? Am I too early, or
I
what do you see?
Yeah, I mean, it's logical, right? Because we can kind of look at it when we open up the charts, but you can see Ethereum rejected at the same area of, and it actually just passed it. But I could see why a lot of people would pull out because it's rejected this area about 2 or 3 times already, and this has kind of been a major area of resistance, I'll say. So a lot of people could have just been trading. They could have been pulling out, like, hey, like last couple times we got up here, this is where it dumped. But the thing that's interesting now is, like you said, and this is the key, is that Ethereum is now looking to be, or they're looking to get approval for an ETF as well. So this is what's kind of blowing my mind. Like everyone knows they're looking to get that ETF approval, yet Ethereum, I'll show you this on the charts also. It's not where Bitcoin was last time it was at this price. And that part of it is kind of interesting to me. So I don't know why that is, to be honest with you, because really the news is essentially the same for Ethereum. Maybe it's not as close to getting approved, and I think maybe that's could be kind of the hang up. But I think if Bitcoin gets approved, Ethereum will get approved. So that's one to watch, right? Because if Bitcoin gets approved, dude, I'm getting in on some Ethereum because it's gonna go through that same, like hype train that Bitcoin went on, and it's just gonna explode. So that's something I'd be on the lookout for.
Well, I also have a little bit of different perspective, and I'm not completely different, but I mean, I'm a little bit more on buy the room and sell the news, because as also we're gonna be seeing on Cardano, I think that what might be happening at this point. Although I'm very within the same line of thoughts that you're having right now, which is, I mean, we're getting that bullish pushing into I mean, that bullish news pushing into the price. action. So I think that is a great opportunity to start looking at that. Let me also shout out to Tishun. What is up, Tishun? Long time no see, brother. I always see you here in the comments. So I love watching this. That's what Tishun says. Love watching you here, brother. Also, Alex O Crypto. What is up, brother? I also would love to throw it back to you, Trendflight, to see what else you might be having here for us on the news side.
Yeah, man. So two of these stories kind of they correlate in a sense, right? Because they are talking about proposing some more crypto regulations, and it's really for anti-money laundering. That seems to be the FUD that the government's putting out right now. Is the whole, it's used for illicit activities. Now, we all know what's reality, and fiat is used exponentially more than crypto is. It's not even close. But, that's the big thing. Now, the good news is that they're starting to introduce regulations. Like, this is what Coinbase has been asking for. This is what the people have been asking for, is like, hey, can we get some regulations? And the reason is because then once you have those regulations, institutions will feel more comfortable getting in. And then you're really going to see the big money flow into crypto, which then it's going to explode for people like us that have gotten in early. So if you don't know, we're still in early. I promise you that. But then we kind of get over to this next like FUD, segment, we'll say. And JP Morgan now is saying they should ban crypto. Now, the interesting part about this is very contradicting. If you really look into it, JP Morgan is invested in blockchain technologies. JP Morgan has their own token. Now, why are they saying to ban crypto? I think that, it's just kind of a underhanded way of playing the system for their own gain. And so this is one that like I think is really interesting to me, and to see kind of your perspective on it. But like it always scares me when like the institutions are like, oh yeah, ban crypto, but then on the backside they're doing their own thing. So what do you think about this one?
I can only think about 2017 when JP Morgan was saying, crypto is a scam, so on and so forth. And I also happen to have something in here that I want to show you. So right here we can see, let me zoom into this, that what JP Morgan was saying versus what JP Morgan, I don't know why I cannot make a zoom in here. Come on, JP Morgan was doing. So basically, as they were, mouthing around Bitcoin, they were purchasing some Bitcoin. So I think there is a big gap between what it needs to be researched when these big companies, especially the ones that they know or that they are big names in this institutional markets, start talking about, because I think they are on purpose trying to have an effect on the market moves.
So you're
So
thinking
yeah,
market manipulation, right? Is that kind of what you're thinking?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wanted to skip that part
Yeah.
because I mean, but yes, absolutely. That's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, we've been seeing them talking about crypto, and as you mentioned, they have their own token. So what's up with that, right? Remember when they say that
Yeah.
they're gonna be firing every single employee that purchased Bitcoin?
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy, dude. Like, so that's what happens when you mess with big business, right? I don't know if you guys have seen some of those shows, man, but they are ruthless,
Yeah.
trying to clear out the competition. Was it Yellowstone? If you watch that one was a good show there.
Let me see. Maybe seems like you might be frozen here.
Uh-oh.
Let me see.
I do look
I
frozen.
don't know. Yeah. Oh, all right. Yeah, it seems like you're frozen. Let me know if you maybe can jump back into the link, and then we go back into, or your camera, maybe you can reset it. But that's fine. In the meantime, all right. In the meantime, we got you back. Let me see if you have any other news that you want to push to us. I think your screen capture is still playing out fine.
Okay, right on, man.
Oh, there we go.
Uh,
Perfect.
we back. Cool. All right. So yeah, I got no more news. You got anything on the news side?
Yes, I would like to show you a little bit of a news here before we jump into I believe that you have a heat map, right? So let
I do.
me bring it up here. Yeah. So just to finalize things on X marks the spot, basically same thing that you had going on there. As always, X never makes us wait on that kind of news. So JP Morgan, JP Morgan CEOs say the only true use of Bitcoin is for criminal. And I do remember on the Discord we were saying, or we were looking at some comments saying, well, yeah, too bad that cash is not traceable, right? And I mean, like, yeah, of course. I mean, you're talking about Bitcoin, and then cash. We have cash, which is a little bit of that. So Justin with a CNBC says Bitcoin is the first asset in history that is more scarce than gold. And I mean, we see that coming, but also we now start seeing that both FOMO for one part and also that food for the other part. So I think right now is where we have those big institutions having that battle between where their interest it's pulling the strings, right? So do they want a pullback? I mean, or do they want a pump? I think that is what might be happening at this point. Let me try it back to you here. So we might be able to do that sideways into that heat map.
Right on. Yeah, so the first thing I'm going to take a look at here is on coin market cap. So just looking at some of the top coins, looking at the fear and greed index, which is sitting at 81. So extreme greed. What's the correlation usually with the fear and greed index? Usually it's kind of inverse. Once we start getting higher up there on the fear and greed index, we'll typically have a little bit of pullback, which kind of makes sense. And then for our total market cap, we're sitting at 1.58 trillion, which is going to be down 1.29%. Kind of makes sense with that big pump that we just had. And some of the trading volume here over the last 24 hours is at 65 billion, which is down 30.29%. That's usually something you see on the weekends, not so much during the week, but also kind of makes sense after that big exponential movement. So getting into some of your top 10 coins, looking at Bitcoin, I like to look at the last 7 days. So Bitcoin is up 15.25%, Ethereum's up 11.23%, BNB, it shouldn't be up very much because of all the FUD with that one, but that's up 1.59%. XRP, now this is the one that's like throwing me off. Like, where's XRP been in all this? Like, they've had really bullish news come out. And so I'm really trying to figure out why it is that it's not moving as much as some of the other tokens. I would be interested, like, if anyone has anything in the chat, like, let me know why that is, because I'm curious. Solana, that's up 7.12%. Cardano is up 16.8%. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. Dogecoin's up 14.39. AVAX up 25.44. So there is a little push going on right now for some of the gaming centric tokens or things that have an ecosystem revolving around games. I honestly think, like, if there's something you guys want to look at in terms of like low cap or tokens that are outside of, the big players, look at some of the gaming tokens. I think they have some real utility, and I really think those are the tokens that might actually get some movement here in the bull market. And when I say that, I mean like exponential movement. So over to the heat liquidation map. So one of the things that I always take a look at on this, I don't live by it, but I take a look prior to getting into the charts. And the reason I do is because I think that a lot of times you'll find that price will chase liquidity. So I kind of look there, and you can see kind of two zones right now that we should keep our eye on. So about 44.2, which means people are, hey, they're playing shorts, and then they have their stop losses set up at about 44.2. And then down here, this is the ones that were playing the long positions, and they're sitting at about 40, let's see, 2275. So you can see those are two areas you want to look at. You could definitely see wicks go in those directions to kind of clear that liquidity out, right? So that's something I always like to look at for getting into the charts. And then let's go ahead and get into the charts. I'm going to pass it over to OC first. I'll let you kick it off, and then I'll take a different perspective, we'll say. And let's get it going, man. This is the fun
Perfect,
part.
absolutely. Yeah. So the first thing that I want to also say, hey, what's up, Lunar? I'm watching you here, and also talking about XRP Trendfly before we dive into Bitcoin or then the charts. It is that it seems to be preferred by the U.S. government XRP as maybe a coin or something. I don't know. It seems a little bit weird. And also we see comparities from some personalities leaving the US government to become a very important part of XRP. So I think that might be cooking up something there. And as Lunar mentioned, it is slow until it is not. So maybe the fuel is already being exhausted at this point, but I believe that they might be having a little bit more surprises up in the future, especially after the halving event. But yeah, I mean, jumping to the Bitcoin market cap, let's take a look at what happened here and what we were looking at. So we had a beautiful breakthrough. Remember that we were talking about going back into that support zone, having that flip up. This is not the ribbon, this is the ADX, but that's what we were looking for. The ADX having some strength to the upside into a green mountain there. Yes, we see it now reversing, but it seems that we are high enough to now start making some support. So far, seems like we are above 54% on dominance right there. So it seems pretty solid. I mean, of course, this could be a little bit of a higher high going for a retracement, which it is what I do expect. So let me clear this chart and do the next upcoming movements that I see. So at this point, let me start adding my predictive tools here. And I see that we have a strong resistance, strong support right down here. So the first thing I'm going to be looking is for this small support that I have on the 4-hour. So what I see, or what I'm expecting, is for the squeeze momentum to go to the zero lining here and then start making a little red valley. So when I see that little red valley and also the ADX still going down, then rising up on the red valley and going back down at the 50% out of that red valley. Let me show you, like exactly here, and also very much like in here. You see how that ADX is going down in strength. Remember, as long as we're red, we are bearish, but we're losing that bearish momentum on the squeeze momentum and also losing that strength on the bearishness. So that's what I want to see to look for my next maybe entry on Bitcoin, although we see it going very, very strong, and this retracement might not be that significant if we can still hold this 54% line so far on dominance. So sorry, you also were talking about gaming tokens. So before I throw it back to you, I want to talk about Illuvium. So it seems like it is playing out very, very nicely. Remember yesterday's analysis, we were looking at this section right here, and it seems like my market Oracle Pro, it's not working. So let me just change this for a little bit, click OK there, and then I'm gonna be almost rebuilding this analysis. So let me make things small here, and let's go over the squeeze momentum. So on the
You gotta
squeeze
make some more
momentum, what is
spaghetti, dude.
happening? I know. It's kind of like I'm a topic for breakfast, that Mexican spaghetti Army Patrick calls it. Yeah, it's a little bit messy. Let me maybe clean it up a bit in here. All right, so I have a couple of lines that I now can be removing, which was the spikes in the center of those boxes of the VPVR. So let me start cleaning things up here. So we already bounced from there on my house in here, so my head and shoulders house, OC's house, like Piper calls it. Very nice bounce from there, going to a downside as first zone of support. We broke it, also the nice VPVR main line, so we broke it, and then we went for that base of the previous range that we had going on in here. All right, so that range, it's broken, so also let's remove it because we no longer have a need for that. We're gonna be drawing a support line in there, which is very close to the VPVR, so let's just consider that VPVR there as the next resistance when we see a bounce. So it's not about the breakout, guys, it's about the retest, and that retest is right, exactly, right on that VPVR spike below dynamic reactor. And what I want to see, and it seems to be happening, is that, and let me make it a little bit bigger, is that rounded bottom right here on what it seems to be the squeeze momentum barriers. Now I'm looking for those darker color, reducing histogram bars, and also I want to see the strength on that ADX going down on the bearishness. That will be giving me a stronger zone of a bounce. But so far, we are right there. So that will be a very nice opportunity to enter for a short, not financial advice. So let me pull up a couple of more things in here so we can have a cleaner view right there. So what's happening right here? We did have that beautiful lower or smaller wicks in here. The only difference from this section that we did bounce to the upside to this section, it is that we are below dynamic reactor. We are below a very strong resistance point there. So also look at where is my neckline in here, and also where is my next VPVR. So we are squeezing. That's why I'm not ready yet to enter for a short. I want to confirm a rejection. I want to confirm that we're going back above or below, and I'll also confirm it with my oscillators. So far, we are seeing the FOR playing out in here, but we are below the zero line. What's gonna be my next possible scenario? A double bottom. Let me show you how would that look. Something like this, a double bottom, or a double bottom like that. And let's see what has happened on those scenarios. Right here, we marking here, and then the double bottom was farther below. So that's exactly what I'm looking at this exact point to see whether am I gonna be entering for that fake out as I break above and retest, and off we go. But more likely to break to this, make a little fake out, and then reverse to downside. I would love to see what do you want to show us there, trend flags. Do you have something that you would like to revisit on your charts?
Yeah, dude. Not so much revisit, just maybe take a look at a couple different things, right? So one of the things that I like to look at, as far as my analysis, is the DXY, because there is we'll say a loose inverse relationship between the DXY and crypto as a whole. So looking at the DXY, there's two levels I'm really looking at, and one of them is at 104.7, and then I have a trend line that I've been following, and that one, if we see that one again, is somewhere around 102. So I see a kind of going back and forth between those two areas. Now, interesting enough, I don't usually use the dynamic reactor on DXY, but it actually rejected off the dynamic reactor, which was interesting to me. And that's pretty cool, right? So what we could potentially be seeing on DXY right now is it actually falling. So if we know what the relationship is there between the DXY and Bitcoin, if that does continue to fall, we should probably see Bitcoin start to work its way up. Now, where does DXY actually fall to? I mean, it could fall all the way down to about 102, 101 and still maintain that trend line as support. And that would be bullish for Bitcoin if that were the case. Now, if it does actually flip and it does go up to 104, keep your eye on that, right? So keep your eye on it hitting those zones, because then you could see a movement in Bitcoin. I'm not going to say you could predict it, but it's one of those things you could add to your analysis as confluence to be like, okay, we might see a movement or a reaction off of those areas. Now, the other thing I wanted to look at on Bitcoin is, let's see, let me pull it up here, is the money flow. And so I'm going to take more of a top level look at it, right? So OC is awesome with the details, and like he gets into it, builds his Mexican spaghetti, and this is for the simple folk, okay? So for me, I like to go back and look at, all right, what are some of the historicals here? Like what can we find as trends on the charts, right? And so one of the things that I like to look at is the money flow. All right, so I'm gonna bring that up nice and big for you. And what I did is I made a horizontal line. And I made that horizontal line, and I was like, when have we been this high on money flow? And so I go back and I make little vertical lines, right? And I'm trying to find that on the chart now. So then I'll go back to the chart. I'm like, all right, let's look at the chart. Let's see where we were at on the chart. So I'm going to go ahead and expand Bitcoin now. And let's go ahead and look at that. Make it clear. There we go. All right. So this is the same point where we're at on money flow right now. So you can see May 2019. What do? We had a small pullback. If I expand it, you had a small pullback and then you went up. You look at 2021, the same point on money flow. We had a small pullback. Actually, it's kind of a pullback. But ultimately, what did we do? We had our pullback and we continued a trend up and right. So could that be in store for us here with the being at the same point? It's very plausible, right? Especially with some of the bullish news with the ETF. So, that's one thing I wanted to point out. What are your thoughts on that, OC? I know that's not typically something that you look at as much with your analysis, but you think that could be plausible for where we're headed.
Absolutely. In fact, I do want to pull it back here to my charts really quick and acknowledge that we have a little bit of a range going on there. Remember that yesterday, guys, we were looking at this zone as a base for that support. Let me clear this up, that Mexican spaghetti, so we can see it better. And remember that we were looking for that little range to happen like it has happened here for the next maybe pull up or pull down. So what we want to see is that synchronization between this range and the squeeze momentum flipping back up, and also bouncing off the zero line on our prime oscillator. What it is concerning to me at this point, it is that right here on the prime RSI prime, we have big candles in here, and we still have a ton of movement to go down here. Also, the same thing repeats on my squeeze momentum. So look at how high, and let me remove everything in here so I can show you guys better. Remember that this is my box in here, right here. Right, that looks way better. And then we're seeing that ADX pulling down, so losing that strength on a green mountain, which is a bullish, right? So we're losing bullishness strength, right? And also we have the squeeze momentum going into the downside, again pulling us back. As long as we can stay within this previous VPVR line, and let me mark this one here very nicely here, this line, we are still up for a bullish movement upcoming. When we start losing that line, I believe that that will be a very worrying signal, because we could be jumping into a red valley below key support, which will be bringing us to the main support at the dynamic reactor and the actual nice VPVR there. So it wouldn't be any crazy retracement so far, but look at what we could be forming here. So something like a head and shoulders pattern. So this is way too into the future, guys. Do not believe that this is going to happen at this point, but I'm just trying to forecast my analysis to be prepared for whatever might be coming. So trade flights.
What's your high volume area there? It's hard for me to see. So what's right there, that where you circled? What's the price of
that? Right up here on the, let me give you all of my numbers. Up here, it's 44,568.
Okay.
Down here at the bottom of this spike, it is 63. And then my line in here, it is at 41,617. Then after that, right here where I see this support, it is at 39,255. So I'm not calling right now that that pullback that far, because we are above the zero line in here, so that keeps us bullish. We are above dynamic reactor, and we are still within a range. So I'll only be starting concerning once we start breaking key supports, which are support number 1, support number 3. Support number 1 and support number 2 right here. And then support number 3 will be my next decision making when I start seeing that squeeze momentum reversing. Look at how it reversed here at the big support. That's what I'll be looking for in case we break support 1 and 2. So what are you thinking that trade flag? Do you see maybe us coming down? Do you think that we're gonna be keep pumping? What are your expectations?
Yeah, so if you switch back over to my screen, I'll say a zone that I'm keeping my eye on. And the reason I'm keeping my eye on it is because there's been so many tests of support and resistance previously. Again, I'm big on going back left on the chart and looking at where we had support and resistance. I like swing trading. That's one of my biggest things. So you can see between about 38,000 and about 45.6 is a war zone, right? There's all kinds of support and resistance there. And I could really see us consolidating in that area, which isn't going to be a bad thing. I know that everyone's very ecstatic where we are price wise right now. But even if we were to pull back to 38,000 and retest that upper trend line that was previously resistant, now split to support, and we got our retest. If we come back and retest that line again or that trend line, like that's not a big deal. It's probably healthy, to be honest with you. And it's also going to show you that we're having a higher low, which is further confirmation of our trend that's up and right. So I could very much see it doing that, but we got to deal with FOMO, right? The most unpredictable element in all of this in our analysis is I got people hitting me up again saying, "Hey, what do you think?" Like I'm having FOMO, like I want to get in. Like, oh boy, here we go again. Like we're gonna get this volatility, right? Because people are jumping in, they're getting wrecked, they're putting in these crazy short positions or long positions, and then we start getting that cascade effect, right? So when those things start getting liquidated, it becomes exponential. So that would be like my word of caution for you guys is to look out for that. But I think we can consolidate in the zone. And I will say at about 48.3, where I have this kind of like pinkish resistance line. If we break that, like it might get wild, to be honest with you, because then we're starting to clear out of some of that previous like high volume areas. And that, my friend, is when it could get crazy. And then we might start talking about all-time highs again in a very, very near future if we start getting up in there. And we got to keep our eye on the ETF. That could be the catalyst that really starts pushing us up.
Perfect. Do you have something on ADA that we would like to show us, or should I bring it back into my chart and maybe we can throw it back to you into the macro charts there?
Yeah, man, go ahead, bring yours up. I know you got some info prepped on ADA, and then you can kick it over to me, man, and I'll just close it down.
Perfect. Yeah. So let's take a look at what has happened here. Remember that Cardano ADA is one of the main topics here, that we had that massive increase on the volume right there, right? So we actually can see that within those 24 hours to happen. It is normal that when we have that massive movement, we can have a pullback here. And remember that in previous yesterday's class, I was talking about the resistances that we had going on in there. So a couple of those zones were my premium zones, and also the VPVR line in there. Remember that the midpoint between those ones was where I was expecting a reaction to happen. All right, and look at this alarming here. If I bring it up, you see ADA crossing 0.4550. All right, so where is my 4550? That is this red line in here. So as you can see, that was almost to the dollar to my alarming there. So also I want to show you guys that we have a previous support zone, which is at the bottom of this other peak for my next support. So guess where are we hitting right now? Guys, if you did enter on this trade, please shout it out, give me the thumbs up. I did enter on this one. I already taking TP number 1. So remember, guys, if you're watching this class, go take a look at the other one that we have yesterday so you can see the full extent of this analysis. Also, remember that I was expecting another way to happen here to position myself between a little range, because I was looking for a symmetrical triangle in here. So let me clear this up in here so we can recall that analysis. All right. So the first thing I was looking for, it was this symmetrical triangle. We broke that symmetrical triangle, and remember, we were expecting that pullback to happen. So very nice pullback already. This is a itty bitty tiny short. Why? Because I have a very nice prime score. I'm still bullish on my momentum here, and also I do have big supports coming in. So very tiny movement here to the downside. I'm gonna be trailing it, so TP number 1 is hit it, and then I'm not gonna be taking TP2 or TP3. I'm only gonna be trailing it because I believe this movement will be defined for whatever Bitcoin might be doing up next. All right, so where are my next alarms? Let's take a look at here, crossing 41.98, and then my next alarm, it is at 0.4. So am I expecting to go that low? I don't know. So I'm just being prepared for whatever it comes. For my next upcoming movement to the upside, I want to see again flip up the ribbon at support. So let's bring up some support and resistances. So look at where I have my next support zone right here. So I want to see the RSI prime already developing very nice candles and being at least at the 50% line when I start seeing that flip of candles for a bounce in here for a continuation of an uptrend. That way I can now start drawing a couple of a little bit better lines, better trend lines in here to give me the next prediction on where it could be going both to the upside and to the downside. So that is the very first step I'm looking for. The next step I'm looking for is the breakthrough that 50% line and going to visit that bottom. Remember, I'm only gonna be looking at that bottom at support. Look at that dynamic reactor where it could be catching up at crazy support. That's why I have my next alarm setting there. So I want to see it maybe making a double mountain like this, or making a very fast movement and then flipping back up here as also a flip of the ribbon. The clouds on the ribbon are very tight, so we need to be careful on those supports. If we start breaking those supports, we could be spiking down a little bit, and that is because when we have that such a huge volume coming into Cardano, old holders or whales might be tempting to start selling up to grab some liquidity on their old investments. So trade flags, would you like to add into ADA on Cardano? Want me to throw it back to your charts? Do you maybe have something else for us on your side?
Yeah, man. Let me just go through a couple of support and resistance levels that I have identified, right? So it's always good to look at different perspectives. Like, so for me, I'm very traditional in the way that I identify support and resistance. I literally look for multiple touch points, and you can see them on the charts, right? You can see right here that we had multiple touches of support, and then we had this big pump up, which obviously acted as resistance, and it rejected hard off of that area, right? So that lets me know that, like, hey, we're at a pretty solid area of resistance. And now here we are again testing that same area of resistance. And look, this is one of my big plays. If you follow me, you'll know that when I like to enter into trades, I look for very small moves, but I look for psychological, price action, right? And so we come up to this area again that everyone knows. I won't say everyone knows, but a lot of people are expecting resistance here. So you'll get that initial rejection. Now, I'm not saying ADA can't continue to up and right. That's fine with me, but I'm looking for that initial rejection. So this is honestly, like, when I do most of my entries, this is it. I'm literally drawing a line horizontally, and I'm playing a 2 to 3% move. I'll use a little bit of leverage, and then I'm out. I don't even care what it does after this. I'm in, I'm out. And I told you, I like put my money back in USD, just to kind of as a safeguard. Rule number 1, protect your money. So let's look at some of the resistance levels here. Right now, the obvious one is at about 45 cents, right? We got to break that for some kind of continuation to the upside. And then you go back on the charts, you look to the left, and you see resistance and support and resistance at about 50 cents, 51 cents, really. So that's an area to look for. I keep my eye on that one. You can also look somewhere in the neighborhood of 42 cents. you can see that it was very much resistance a few times, and it also provided support. Like this is very obvious support and resistance here, right? So this area is extremely important. So what could happen? You want to get, predictive. You want to set alerts, right? That's one thing that OC said that I really, really like, and you should really, if you're going to trade actively, take note of setting alerts because that is going to save the day for you. And set alerts on these two numbers at 45, 42 cents. And then just see what happens. Do me that solid, right? So do a little bit of back testing or just like, hey, man, he pointed out these two levels. Let's see what happens. See if we get any interaction on those levels. And then just take note. And then you can incorporate that into your analysis and do what you want with it. But those are just some areas I'm looking at and, kind of how I like to do business. So, yeah, what do you think of that, man?
I love it, and I believe that what you just said is very, very important because no, rule number one is protect your money, right? I mean, that's why we have we teach on the Piper Academy. Always use your stop loss. Always have a plan B. Always look for where it could be going up or down. Do a quality analysis. So I believe that that is an amazing strategy that you got going on there. And also, guys, take note of those alert zones if you are looking to get into Cardano. And also, I would like to take a look at the prime screener that we have. So let me pull it up. Oh, before I pull it up to my charts, do you have anything else that you would like to show us on that site?
Yeah, man, I think that's about it for me. So
Perfect.
I'll back you up here, see what you got, and maybe I'll jump on it.
Perfect, perfect. So we still had 9 more minutes, so we can maybe do one or two analysis, guys. Let me know right here in the chat, and I'm ready, you guys. If you want us to take a look at any of the assets, remember that this is what we're looking forward to keep a track on. So far, Tesla, we have a buy signal. We're bullish, and we don't have any retracements so far. So we also that could be a very nice zone to be looking at. Bonk, we have an engulfing candle, so we have one check mark, so we are almost there. Seems that we started having that a little bit of that what is it, pullbacks or reversal signals in here. What it seems to be very nice, it's a illuvium, which we saw here. We're having an engulfing to the upside, all right? We have a reversal up, so remember that we were bouncing off or breaking through that dynamic reactor and then bouncing off a support zone. Remember that neckline that we had going on there. We see it reflected right here on our prime screener. AGIX seems bullish. Bitcoin have an engulfing reversal, so we need to be taking a look at that. So let's take a look at it says algo. So let's take a look at the algo and then also clean spark. Perfect. So clean spark, it seems like we have going on here. So let's start it with algo. Would you like to bring up clean spark there, trade flight? Let me while I'll do algo. All right. So it seems that we have a very maybe old analysis all the way down here. Seems like we were expecting a ranging here. Let me turn this one off. So the range actually moved the way it was supposed to be moving here. Look at that, beautiful, until we went back down. Remember that 50% line on the range that we're looking for. Oh, well, this was a little bit higher here. And then making that pressure to the upside, breaking that range, going for a pullback, and off we go. So on algo, let me remove everything so we can start refreshing here. And it seems like we're making a high on a mountain right here on the squeeze momentum. Seems like our ADX is pointing down. So that is a conflicting data. So we're bullish, where we're losing string on that bullishness. That is capping out or capping off or preventing the long or the bullishness to keep rising fast and strong. So we could be expecting either a ranging up in this section or a consolidation zone here. It remains to be seen, but we can also refresh this and look for some support and resistance. Look at that beautiful resistance that we have going on here on the 4-hour. So what I'm looking at this point is if we are able to break inside this channel, we could be oscillating a little bit in here as we start moving up and down and maybe gaining a little bit of strength in here. But we need to be very cautious in here because we have a ton of bearish divergences. The only way to break the next divergence is to make another high in here on our oscillator, right on the OB zone in here, to break the potential bearishness or bearish divergence that we could be building up in here. So be careful here because we could be on the edge of a reversal at this point on algo. So entry points, again, not financial advice, but we need to exhaust the timing on the upcoming range. So how do we're gonna be looking at that when we start seeing those candles plotting to the downside and breaking to the downside? It is that we already have exhausted this up ranging zone or this ranging zone that we could be having up here, because while we're still bullish, look at our prime score, but also our consolidation score, it is 5, so which means that we could be entering into a range. So let me plot this for future reference. Here we go, and then maybe going to the 0 line rejection or flip of the ribbon at support. Where else I have support? At these 2 spikes where I have my dynamic reactor coming in strong. And fun enough, I also have an equilibrium zone right there. So hey, what's up, Jason? Hola. So Eric, what's up? I saw a bunch of clean spark at last 3 days. Oh, nice. Let's take a look at that also. So it seems like trade flight, we had a little of a connection right there. Trade flight, if you can. Oh, here we go. We got you back, isn't it? So can you hear me? Oh, for some reason I'm not able to hear you. But guys, please give me a shout out if you can hear trade flight. Maybe it's just the connection. All right, so let me go into, do you have your charts for clean spark? Maybe you can take a look at that. All right. So it seems like I don't have audio coming in here. Maybe it's a little bit of technical difficulties. Let me try to reestablish the connection here. Give me just 1 second. And here we go.
How about now? You hear me?
Now, perfect. Yes, now I
All
can
right.
hear you.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Cool, man. Let's look at clean spark. A couple things to look at here on the charts. And so one of the things I was like, all right, well, that's a pretty big pump. What's the catalyst for that? So looking at their earnings, it looks like they did have a surprise of 297% on their earnings. So that's the move for that's a reason, I think, for some of the big movement there. So that's good news. It looks like was it Eric? Eric said he sold out some. That's probably a good move. Just looking at the charts right now, there's a couple things I want to point out to you. And those are some previous resistance levels and then also a gap, right? So if you guys kind of look back historically, a lot of times price action tends to kind of go back to some of these gaps. So that's when they have the close and then it opens again and you'll get that gap on the charts. And a lot of times you'll see price action go back. I don't know why that is, but it just seems to be a trend. And so looking at that, what does that line up with? Well, it does line up with some of the numbers on the Fibonacci retracement, right? So if you're looking at the 0.382, that would fill the gap pretty nicely. But the one I really want you to concentrate on is the 0.5, which is really the stronger level of the two. So 0.5, I trade that one all the time. I know a lot of people are about the 618, the golden pocket. That one's sweet. That one's nice. But I'll tell you, I have a lot of success with the 0.5. All you want to do once we get down to those levels, if we get down to those levels, is then go to the indicators and start looking at your trend, right? So is RSI trending up and right? Is VWAP trending up and right? Is money flow trending up and right? And that's kind of what I would be looking at personally. So that's a big pump to go up exponentially. Let's go ahead and measure it. Let's see what kind of movement we got here. So from the pump to the top, that's 186% movement. That's massive, right? So a pullback is probably realistic and healthy at this point. I'm not saying it can't continue to the upside, but I won't say I would like to see, what I would expect probably is to see some consolidation here in this area. So up to its local high and then down to the 0.236. All you got to do is come back. You can almost see where the 0.236 lines up to the left with some previous support here and here, right? So that's what I like to do. I like to get a little confluence on the charts to see multiple touch points in a particular area. So again, I'm a short time guy. I like doing swing trading. If you guys are hodling, I don't see the harm in continuing to hold, because really the number you want to look at that it can pull back to is the 0.5. If you're comfortable with that, then hodl away. It could very likely get a bounce here and you'll get that higher low and you could probably see some continuation to the upside. However, looking right now at this area, I wouldn't expect it to continue that exponential movement up and right personally, but obviously it's well within play. So just looking over at some of the indicators now, see where they're at. Yeah, you can see on the daily overbought, so that kind of lines up. You can see money flow is, going up and right. And then you can see also too, taking in some of the trend analysis, it's on the high side. So you could expect maybe a little, I'll say a little bit of a pullback just based on the indicators. And then looking at BBWP, that's something I like that does identify the end of a trend. When you see the red there, it's saying, hey, this trend might be kind of losing a little bit of its pop. It might be kind of cooling off a little bit. So it's like everything is lining up right now to see some kind of consolidation. That's kind of my 2 cents on that one. OC, what do you think there?
I also believe that. Also, look at that. I mean, I love your analysis there. It seems like we might be going for that retrace also because we are within that overbought zone that you have on your oscillator in there. Also, we have a couple of golden boxes. I do see a pullback coming up, but as you mentioned, an exponential movement is within its place because we are above the zero line. But I believe it's a better way to look at it with a risk management perspective because we already overextended on that movement. But yeah, also seems like Ethereum is moving. So let me jump really quick into Ethereum before we wrap things up, just to make that last analysis. So let's take a look at here what we got. The previous analysis was going into the premium zone and all the way up to that purple line. So it seems like we are on our way up there. Also, let me pull up the daily analysis here, and remember that we have a triangular pattern here, which we broke through. So also, look at that at this section, we are getting overbought. So be careful there because as we get into this zone, we could be looking at maybe some retracements, which is going to be natural and normal. Jumping back into the 4 hour and cleaning things a little bit up in here and also turning off a couple of other stuff. Let's see that our target was all the way up here. This circle, I just made it, but this line was in line with this purple line in here. So again, we also have a ton of bearish divergences, so be careful. I believe that we could be hitting that 2373 zone, but no financial advice. Be careful because we're building some bearish divergence until we are still above that zero line. We could be pushing up.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's what
actually
we're
lining
seeing.
up with some previous resistance and support. Right now, the current level we're at would be an area that if I was trading it personally, because again, I do short term, it's probably where
Yes.
I would exit. But that's just me. And don't don't take me, for gospel, because I also exited at 21.37. So you see how that played out for me. But I mean, I made money, but at the same time, like because I play support resistance, sometimes you can exit early and miss the continuation, especially when you don't get a retest. So, but it is at an area of resistance time now. Other than that,
Absolutely.
pull, pull,
Well,
pull, pull. I want to see
Nice.
it all pump,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes, and I mean, as you mentioned, the important part is that you made money on the trade. I mean, remember that 90% of the traders usually are not making; they're losing money on the trade. So, guys, we have run out of time. TradeFly, thank you so much, guys. Let me remind you that we're gonna be having a collaboration video upcoming on the Piper Academy, where we're gonna be showing our predictions for Bitcoin. So, TradeFlight, are you ready for that upcoming video? Let me know.
Bro, dissertation. Let's go. I'm prepping.
Let's go. So, guys, thank you so much for joining. Remember that sharing is caring, as Piper would say. Use a stop loss.
That was awesome, dude!